Now, my advice is don't take this video too seriously, but I think it has got something in it. I got an email from Simku Horst. He said, how about the Shure SM7B, Sennheiser E965 and the Earthworks SR40V? Now, I don't have a Shure SM7B, but I listen a lot online, watch other people's reviews, and as you can imagine, and I've noticed something. Actually, over the years I've noticed that I've started to recognize an SM58, scientific or not, by a kind of a plasticky thing in the top and a bit of a grit as well, if that's not a contradiction, and a bit of the low end bloom, but not going very low. So there's something about it I think I've recognized. And listening to a number of people just online on the Shure SM7B, I thought, it's got a similar sort of thing. And I listened, I thought, it's very smooth. It goes a bit lower than the SM58 and doesn't have that, as much of that thing on the top, but there's still a slight plasticky sort of sound to it, to me. So I thought, why don't I EQ this just with a basic EQ here and put this foam on there, because of course the the 7B has got quite large foam, and I've done tests with foam, and I noticed that the foam tends to I wouldn't say cloud, I wouldn't say smear, because they sound negative. Let's say that it tends to diffuse the top end, so it can bring some of the brightness down, changes the balance a bit, and it sort of makes things not so clear. So here's the SM58. Okay, I'm on the SM58, and can you hear what I mean by that? There's a bit of a woof down there, but not very low, and there's definitely that at the top there, and it's like a bit like the mid's missing or something. This is with everything flat. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this foam on there, and I'll cut the video and go straight to it. So let me think of something. So I'll use the usual thing that I say. So when I cut the video, because the ears don't anyway, remember, just the shortest time. The owl and the pussycat went to sea. Wow. It is flat. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money, wrapped up in a £5 note. The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea-green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money, wrapped up in a £5 note. In a £5 note. In a £5 note. It's cured some of the popping, and I believe it's done a bit of smearing. Yeah. We'll see. So now I'm going to give it a bit of a boost on the low, what's it, 80 hertz, boosting the bass just a little, boosting the bass just a little, boosting the bass just a little. I think there, for that kind of spoken thing, that's sharp, spoken. So I'm going to take the treble down, which I think is 12K. Spoken, 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 spoken. Maybe there, maybe there. Now I wonder, from what I can remember, I'm going to put the gain up just a bit, it's up right near the top anyway. From what I can remember, I'm going to put a little bit more low end on. A little bit more low end. Let me make sure I'm turning the right one. Yes, I am. A little bit more low end, so I'm about 3/4 up now. About 3/4 up now. From what I can remember, the SM, that's still a bit spiky. I don't really want to take too much more top off. From what I can remember, the SM7B has a similar characteristic to this. From what I can remember. They use it further away often. From what I can remember, there seems to be a family resemblance. Okay, so let me get the other two. We'll just go between them and just see. So it's my pretend SM7B. I'm on my pretend SM7B. I'm on my pretend SM7B, moving to the SR40V. I'm on the SR40V. What I noticed immediately there, as soon as I breathed in, which is often the case with Earthworks mics, a bit of popping you've got to be careful with all mics. Just seemed to be that immediately. You can just tell there isn't the detail, but it's nice enough. It's nice enough and it's kind of smooth. My pretend SM7B onto the SR40V and then across to the E965. This is the SR40V. The SR40V, if I bring it a bit closer, the SR40V. Moving over to the E965. This is the E965. So I noticed my breath as I breathed in, but it wasn't as clear. And I certainly noticed on this one, I've got it set flat, this E965. Since I've made that kind of a noise, I'm going to make it again. I'm having some fun. I won't go on too long. E965. I'll put some breath in there as well so you get a lot of stuff. E965. E965. SR40V. SR40V. My pretend SM7B. My pretend SM7B. Back on the Earthworks ethos. Well, I don't know if that is any use to you. Well, certainly these two are as is, so you could hear the difference there. Again, as I said many times, got a bit of the old school thing going. Very nice mic. A friend of mine bought one on my recommendation. Not the only person, I don't think. It suits her very well. Hasn't got the voice as low as mine. Oh, of course, female. We all know about this one. Just seems to be lightning fast at the top up there. And it's got the strength if you need it, if you want to bring it in. I wasn't bringing it in that close. This one then, SM58 with the SM58 with the bass boosted a bit, the treble taken down a bit, and this foam thing on it. So you might, from what I've heard, that's still more from what I've heard of the SM7B. Very similar. The SM7B doesn't seem to have that spike. What happens if I take the treble even further down on the SM58 mock-up to try and get rid of that spike, to try and get rid of that spike, to try and get rid of that spike, to try and get rid of that now. Now I've got the treble. I've lost losing a bit of volume, of course, going to creep it up. So now I've got the treble quarter of the way up and the bass 3/4 of the way on. And I don't know. Still got, I don't know. I just don't know. Do you know? Anyway, there we go. Hope that was of some use to Mr. Horst. I'll see you all again. I hope.